Hi there, friends. Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library. And my friend Ling and I are here today to talk to you about a couple fantastic books that we're super excited about, especially this time of year because they are very, very seasonal. I mean, you could read them any time of year, honestly, but I love to read this type of book this type of year, especially since we're now only a couple weeks away from Halloween. So the first one is called The Nature of Witches, and this is by Rachel Griffin. Now, this is technically not a spooky book, so if you're just looking for a really great book to read this season, but you don't love scary stories, this one is fantastic because it is about witches, but it's not a scary book about witches, so it's perfect. And I just want to say, right before we get started, I just want to show you underneath the dust jacket, how beautiful is this naked cover. I just can't even with this. I just had to share that with you. If you all love the way that books look underneath the dust jackets like I do, it's beautiful. Mwah. Anyway, so this book is about, it's set in an alternate world where witches actually control the weather and they control the seasons. So everybody that is a witch that is born with this power has the power to control one season. And it's usually has to do with whenever they were born. So if you were born in the fall, you have fall witch powers. If you were born in the summer, you have summer witch powers, and so on and so forth. Clara, who is the main character in this story, is very, very unique because she is what's called an Everwitch, which means she can control all the weather from any season she's in. Does not matter. So she's very rare. There's only been a handful of other witches like this in the course of the history. So as this book starts out, the world is kind of where we are now with the way that the environment is. There's global warming, things are out of control. They're a little bit worse here in this book than we are now, thank goodness. But it's really up to the witches to help keep things in check, and they're having a hard time with it because of the way that that we have abused the earth. So Clara is really trying to harness her powers. She's trying to rein them in because there have been accidents in the past where she couldn't control them and people around her got hurt. So a lot of this book is about her learning about herself, learning how to control her powers. They bring in this other witch to try to help her, to help teach her and how to learn. And it's a fantastic. Watching the dynamic between both of them is really good. This is just a really beautifully written story that's super unique. I don't think I've ever read a book about witches that was so much like this, where it was really tied to like the environment and environmentalism, and the ecosystem and things like that. But talking about nature and just the world is really such a big part of this book. So if you're interested in things like that, this is absolutely wonderful book for you to read. And like I said, the writing is absolutely gorgeous, so I would highly recommend it on that front as well. The Nature of Witches, super good book. So this next book I actually just read over the weekend. I devoured it and it kept me up at night because, oh my goodness, it's so fantastic. And it's called White Smoke by Tiffany Jackson. Brand new book. It just came out. I love Tiffany Jackson. I read her other book called Grown, which is a completely different story than this one. This one is definitely along the spooky side of things. And it's about this young woman named Marigold, who's moving with her mom, her brother, and her stepfather and stepsister to a completely new neighborhood, new part of the States, and basically starting over. Her mom got this like fellowship scholarship that's going to pay for them to live in this house, in this community that's really, really run down. And the purpose of her being there, the mother and the family being there, is to try to generate interest and invigorate this community. But when they get there, rundown is really not the word for it. I would say more like dilapidated or terrifying, because it's just the house that they're in is very creaky. It has these weird, terrible smells that come and go. Marigold starts seeing these this figure in her room at night, and all these different things start happening. And Marigold has to get to the bottom of what is going on with this house, but also what is going on in this community, because it's not something that's just tied down to the house itself. It's something that is involving the whole community. And this book absolutely terrified the heck out of me. I almost had to sleep with the lights on. Almost. It's very spooky. Definitely a haunted house sort of story. If you can see, like, they've got this creepy house there in the background. It's a very creepy cover. This is definitely a book to give you chills and thrills if you're into that. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And another thing I really, really liked about it that I want to mention is it's not just the scary, spooky part of this book that is being focused on. There's a lot of other issues as well, such as racism, such as classism, taking advantage of the poor, also drug abuse and addiction, recovery, and also a lot to do with anxiety. Marigold has really, really, really tough anxiety that she has, that is described through this book, that I absolutely could identify with, and thought that the author, Tiffany Jackson, did a fantastic job talking about it and the way people can cope with anxiety and things like that. So it's not just a run-of-the-mill scary story. It is a little bit spooky, but it has a lot of depth to it as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So White Smoke, absolutely love this book. It just came out, like I said. It's getting a lot of attention online too, so pick it up, give it a read. I'd love to hear what you think about it. Let me know. Super good book, White Smoke. Well, that's what we've got to talk to you about today. I hope that these books sound really awesome and exciting. They are both available from Farmington Community Library, so feel free to check them out. And like I said, I want to hear what you think about it, so let me know. Thanks so much, friends. Have a wonderful rest of the day.